if you go back to pre-World War II, they didn't have lectures. You know, all of a sudden, after World War II, it became fashionable for magic clubs to hire a magician who, in those days, would have original material and could get up in front of a magic club and fool most of the magicians there with original material. And those were called lectures, and we still have them today. Only today, a lot of guys lecture on other people's material, you know. But in those days, you had to have the chops yourself. You know, you had to have it all. And the first three that I saw, Stuart Judah, Okido, and Dai Vernon. How about that for three guys to see? And of course, later Stuart Judah and I became very close friends. Stuart was over here for a magician's convention, and he and I hung out at the convention. After a couple of days, he was getting a little tired of us, so he said, "Can we go out to your place and spend the afternoon and get away from this?" And I said, "Let's go." So we're at my place. Meanwhile, Al Goshman is flying from LA back to New York, and he stops in Indianapolis, gets off the plane, because he heard that there was a convention here, and he wanted to try to find Stuart Judah. He figured he'd be there, and he got to the convention just as we were leaving to go to my place, Stuart and I. And somebody told him, "I think Harry Reiser just took Stuart out to his place." So he looked in the phone book and got the number, and I'm sitting there with Stuart at my place. And Al Goshman says, he's on the phone, he says, "Can I come out?" Or "I'm coming out." It was more or less mandatory. And he came to the front door, came right in, didn't say hello or anything, just went right to our dining table, which was ebony, black, and took $6 silver and started big ching moves into the, and my wife just went, you know, big gashes in the, and he practically destroyed the table. And Stuart said, "Poor man." That was his only comment. So that was like 1955. And in 1965, by 1965, we were living in Chicago, and so 10 years later, in 1965, one night the phone rings, and it's Jay Marshall. He says, "A friend of yours is in town and wants me to bring him over to your place. He's got something to show you." I said, "Who's that?" He says, "Al Goshman." So I said, "Okay, bring him over." And by this time, we had different furniture, but one of the things we had was a slate-top coffee table with about that inch thick piece of slate, you know, black. And Al Goshman came in and just walked right straight to that table and started doing big jing moves, you know, and my wife says, "I can't believe it." Now, the beautiful thing about slate is you can have it polished, you know, repolished, which we had to do, and without benefit of any contributions, financial contributions from the scratchor. And that's 1965, so we've been hit in 55, we've been hit in 65, now we come up to 75. And by that time we're living here, and it's race time, and Pete Byro's in town, and he has brought Jay down from Chicago, and they're all going to the race, and Mike Close was there, was with them, and they called up and said, "Well, we're coming out, we're coming to your house." So, you know, half an hour or so goes by, and the car pulls up in the driveway, and out gets Jay Marshall and Mike Close and Pete Byron. They all come in, and as they hit the front door, Jay says, "Margie, I've been out to that track. Can you get me a glass of water? I'd certainly appreciate that." And she says, "Well, I'll get it right now." And she leaves to get the water. And Jay takes a styptic pencil, goes over to the slate thing, and starts making little circles. And when Margie comes into the room with a glass of water, Jay's standing there with some silver dollars. He says, "Hey, Al Goshman taught me this thing. You've got to see it."